What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good Wednesday. Of course, right as we come on, we get news that Jimmy Butler is out, so we're going to have to do some shaking up there. Give it a minute, let the projections update, and we'll go through that. I'm going to double check that he's out. I've seen it a couple places, but just always want to double check. It's kind of weird with Miami because I thought they would actually play their guys on this back-to-back just because they're off to such a slow start this season. But that makes that whole game a little bit more interesting. Maybe getting a stack of it, I think, is a pretty reasonable idea. I think Bam, Hero, and Lowry obviously get a boost. Caleb Martin, and then you could take a shot with whoever starts between Struss and Vincent. But Sheets, how you doing, man?
I'm back literally for 5 seconds, and it's like
Already
I want to go to bed. I literally just finished my projections. I got in just in time, and then Butler's ruled out. It's like,
yeah.
Welcome to the NBA, I guess. So aside from that, the other thing that I was waiting on was Fred VanVleet news. He was questionable, and whatever they do in Toronto is going to be important. Mm-hmm. And then was there Zach LaVine unsureness or whatever? That too.
I don't think it's unsure. They announced last night that he's not playing today, so.
But they upgraded him to questionable today.
I don't know if they upgraded him to questionable. I think they just had him as questionable.
Oh.
I'm not sure he got upgraded. I've got him currently as out. But we'll see. I mean, it's hard to know with that one because it is injury management. He played a lot of minutes last night, played the whole fourth quarter and had a crazy quarter. Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit weird today. I want to see what the updates, what the projections have, and then I'd like to know who's starting for Miami, which we'll know before lock. And we don't have, just to remind everybody, lock is not till 7:30 tonight, so you got plenty of time. Don't worry about, trying to rush to get that stuff done. But what are you doing in terms of, again, because it's going to open up value, but it's not like you're going to get like this crazy obvious value. And as we say every day, when you have OKC or the Spurs as the chalky value team, it sort of feels like something's wrong. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like there's lots of opportunity to get the guys wrong because we don't really know.
Well, you tell me. I literally haven't looked yet today. Tell me who I'm supposed to play. I mean, I literally have a sheet of projections, which is now irrelevant. So that's really the only research I've done so far.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that Collins will get a little bit of ownership, which I would probably – he's great per minute. He just never, ever plays more than like 20 minutes.
Zach Collins for the Spurs.
Yeah. Bates Diop is the sort of obvious one. He's 3,700. Assuming that he starts again, I think that he would look like a good value, as would Sohan. But they have a lot of bodies. The guy who I'm interested in a little bit is Romeo Langford because he played a bunch in the last game in a similar situation. And if Langford goes here, it's possible he could play 30 minutes again, and he's 3,200. So I think you're trying to decide between these guys. It's just that's if you need the value at all. But all those guys, have upside. Langford's going to be the low owned one of the bunch, but they're going to play 10 guys. There's also the Malachi Branham, who's projecting to get some minutes too tonight. So it's just that they just play a lot of guys. He played 19 minutes in the last game. I think Langford, Sohan, and Bates Diop are my sort of main plays from there. And I like Podol, by the way, for what it's worth. At 7K.
Can I go back? Can I go backwards for a second?
Yeah.
So I want to read some guys off to you. Again, all I'm looking at is like my projection I just put up, with the exception of Miami. Tell me what you think of these guys. So the top guy on my list is Davion Mitchell. I see him at 30% ownership and clearly the best point per dollar play on the slate.
Yeah, I think he'll be a lot higher owned than that in large buy-in.
Do we like him?
Yeah, with no De'Aaron Fox, it's really hard not to argue for him on DraftKings. I don't think you need to do it on FanDuel. The thing with him is that he's not always going to be like a takeover offensively kind of a guy. He's more of a defender, and it's a terrible matchup. So I certainly could understand if you want to try and make the fade. I think he's going to be closer to the 50 or 60% in the big buy-ins.
Okay,
he's the most obvious value, I would say, on the slate.
Right. I'll tell you the three guys that I have, and what I like to look for is point per dollar guys that are also like over 6K. You know what I mean? Because that means, what do you think of these three guys? So, Darius Garland, Sengun, and Randall.
On DraftKings?
Yeah.
$15 at True
I actually like Garland. I think that his
It should
price
be
is
available at Saber
pretty
Sim in
reasonable.
a few minutes.
Let me see what we got here. Yeah, it's and I can understand some people being concerned. I think his ownership is going to be low enough to where that's a pretty solid play. And look, we've got a lot of question marks for games later, so it's going to be kind of tricky to rate where these guys end up. And that's my only fear about playing some of the early guys is, let's just say Anthony Davis is out tonight. That does open things up for the Lakers quite a bit. I think Russ becomes a really good play at 6,400. For all of you Russ haters out there, I just want to point something out to everybody. There is one player on the Lakers this year with a positive plus minus, and that's Russell Westbrook. And he also has the 8th best in the league difference when he's on the court. He's the 8th best player in the league statistically right now. And that's with everybody hating him and him shooting the ball terribly. So
I think the people with the best plus minus for the Lakers are the people that played the least amount.
No, but he plays tons of minutes.
I know, I'm just saying.
He's played more minutes than Davis has. Davis and LeBron's plus minus is pretty bad. I think Westbrook is an interesting play either way. I just think that you're gonna get some 40s and 50s out of him a lot of the time.
Bobby,
I'm here.
Somebody disappeared. Maybe I did.
Yeah. But the guys who I'm sort of if Levine is out, I think you're playing one of Vooch or DeRozan. Sort of siding a little bit with Vooch tonight on the back-to-back. Tend to like to play bigs instead of wings, and it's a good matchup. I mean, he had a lousy game last night, but he still had 15 rebounds, and I think that this is a huge ceiling potential spot for him. The Bulls are trying to win games, so assuming that Levine is out, that's where I'm starting with my spend ups is one of Vooch or DeRozan. On DraftKings, I think Anthony Davis and Zion are tremendous plays, both of them. So I like the idea of playing those two together on DraftKings, and I like the idea of playing the guy who's not really getting a whole lot of love, which I'm a little surprised by, is Anthony Simons. I think Anthony Simons is an awesome play. Now, you could say some of it's shooting reliant, but if you're going to take, over his last 3 games, he's taken 35 threes, and you're one of the best three-point shooters in the league. And he also had 7 assists and 5 rebounds the last game, put up 52 against Houston. Should be a great pace game against Memphis. So I really like the idea of getting to Simons as my other spend up. But as I've been doing, I'm not really paying over 10K for anybody on DraftKings today. How do you stand with the Giannis and Luka? Because I'm getting them on FanDuel. I'm just not getting them on DraftKings.
I literally have no. I literally have no idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
no
and
I'm pretty useless right now. I mean, I really have no idea.
Okay.
I have Luka and Giannis as good plays. I mean, I'll say that.
It's just so many of the time we see one of these other guys score more fantasy points than the guy who costs 4K more.
You know who I like? I like the guy you mentioned. I like Zion, and I like LeBron. Those are kind of two sort of lower owned guys up there that I like.
I think I like LeBron. LeBron at 10.9 gets a little hairy.
Yeah.
But Anthony Davis at 9,100, he should average 50 plus in this matchup. That should be a median score for him. So I just feel like he's getting actually under projected at 45. I think it should be 50. And I think there's upside on that against his former team. Jimmy Butler. Yeah, we got the word. So I'm going to look and see what they're doing, if they've announced any sort of lineup. Do a little digging. I also want to point out there's a couple of site difference between some of the sites. That Atlanta New York game feels very stackable on FanDuel, where I want basically nothing from it on DraftKings. I guess Randall or Barrett, sure, but Brunson really does eat into those guys. But the prices on FanDuel was $7,400 for Randall, $5,800 for Barrett, $8,700 for DeJounte Murray. You already have a built-in little mini stack of a game that I wasn't really going to be all that into. And I'm a little surprised by this total. You don't usually see it's a new season. I know that, but to see the Knicks with a 235 total, 233 total is a little surprising.
And if you get the Knicks with a 233 total and Julius Randle at that price, it seems pretty attractive.
The only problem is that it's been, it could just as likely be Brunson. But I do like the idea of playing some Randall. I'm just getting to him more on FanDuel than I am on DraftKings. He's going to be more popular on FanDuel, but that's fine by me. I'm making enough other different plays that are
well. To answer one of your questions, I've done a couple of kind of builds here while I've been kind of talking to you, and similar to you, I'm not getting anybody over 10K either, in my lineups. Getting a lot of Bam, getting a good 35% of Randall, as I mentioned. I'm really getting a bunch of this Davion Mitchell. So I have to figure.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
And I'm getting obviously now a bunch of Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge boost for Lowry and for Bam. I think they're both going to be pretty popular. So don't look at the current projected ownership; it's going to change.
But you know what I mean? I'm getting a bunch of what you like. I'm getting like 35% Zion actually.
Yeah, I really like the Zion play today. I'm trying to remember if he's played a game. I think he's played one game so far in his career, maybe two at LA. It's kind of a big deal for these guys. I mean, it's not Madison Square Garden, but it, stars and everything like that. And it's, we get to, I don't know. I feel like there's a little extra something there. I also think without Ingram, you could make, and I'm playing a lot more McCollum on FanDuel, but I really like McCollum too. I feel like McCollum and Simons, I went into today wanting to play both those guys and thinking they were going to be, in the 20-ish% owned range, and to see them like in the 10 or sub 10%, I just feel like that's the plays that I'm going to make, especially with those great game environments, and especially because if I can get 4 players from the 7:00 on games in my lineups, there's going to be some switchability, and we still don't truly know what's happening with Memphis. I expect Adams and Bane to play, but if either of them don't, does open up some interesting spots. This pace game, you could have an interesting play in Brandon Clark. I think that Ja becomes a really great play if Bane is out. I think Aldama is already a decent play, but becomes a better play if Adams is out. So it's just, it's a name of the thing. We want to delay when we can. I know that the total is going crazy. Hero definitely gets a bump with Butler out. Everybody on Miami gets a bump with Butler out. But the problem is Hero, so you have here. Let's just compare Hero and Anthony Simons, okay? Because that's really the decision I think you're getting to when you're trying to think about this one. You could play both of them together, sure, but is Hero? I would rather play Simons than Hero. Simons they're going to run a lot more of the offense through than they're going to. There's still Kyle Lowry and Bam there, and these it could be Max Struss gets hot. Kind of a night, you know what I mean? So you might see some of that too. And I'm curious to see who starts for them. I would like to reserve some of my. I think it's probably going to be Struss, but there is a chance they start Gabe Vincent, and I think I could take a shot at 3,700, but I don't think it would be like a priority. They also have plenty of bodies to go. They did play last night as well, and something to keep an eye out for. You're finally seeing Duncan Robinson playing some minutes last night, and just keep an eye on that one. That might be a guy we use on a small slate later in the season for value just hope he makes his 7 threes that night.
What do you think of Sengun? What do you think of Sengun?
Bam is Eric. Don't read any projection. Don't read any numbers projections about Bam and expect him to be low owned. I don't think that's going to be accurate. Let me just see what his price is on FanDuel.
No, he's going to be huge chalk.
He'll be owned for sure. 79. He's definitely going to be owned. What did we do? What did you say about Sengun?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's not a priority play for me. It's certainly fine. Really like the 7K guys tonight. And what I do like is that I think this is a night where you will get him low owned. And we haven't had that opportunity, and he hasn't really had that massive, crazy explosion, but he's always gets there. And if he just gets a few extra minutes, one of these days, he's going to put up a monster number. He's been 1 rebound away from double-doubles his last 2 games, which cost him, from having the really big game. He had the 47 against Memphis early in the season, so I shouldn't say he hasn't done it at all.
I have another guy for you. This guy used to not play a lot, but he's playing like 1 billion minutes nowadays. Is Harrison Barnes?
Well, yeah, he's the minutes. He's always been good for his minutes, but you're missing with no De'Aaron Fox. Yeah, he's totally. It's fine. I don't, it's fine. I don't know how else to say it. I think the real play there might be Sabonis, and I think we might be too recency biased. He's fouled out of the last 2 games he's played. Unfortunately, one of them was in this matchup. He fouled out in 22 minutes. But he hasn't put up one game we would take all season, but we have and it's a bad matchup. We have no De'Aaron Fox. You have Sabonis, who we all know he has a tremendous ceiling. With no De'Aaron Fox, they're going to run their offense through him. And yeah, you don't like the matchup against Bam, but I'll take the usage.
I have some news. I mean, I don't know if it's news, but it was put on the DraftKings app actually just now, saying that Darius Garland is expected to play in short stints as he works his way back.
So I would cross. I wouldn't play Garland in that case. Okay. At all. And I'm probably going to end up playing some Bam because I don't feel great about the other Miami pieces. I just would rather play Simons than Hero. I think he has a higher ceiling and a higher floor. So I'm into the Bam. I think would probably be my favorite play from that first game, the Miami Sacramento. But haven't really seen that massive upside game out of him either. But he's still 7,800. Should average out to be in the 40s tonight, especially in this matchup. So it is a back-to-back for what it's worth. But the Heat are. That's why I'm surprised that Butler's sitting. The Heat are trying to win games, and they're not doing it very successfully. They did get the nice win against Golden State last night, but they've struggled this year. So I think they want to start getting some wins. And Sacramento, that game feels it feels like you could stack it. It's just really hard to. I hate going against the Heat defense in general, but they played in a game ended up lower scoring, but at halftime it looked like it was going to be like in the 130s. Keegan Murray's missing shots, but he missed 5 of 15 in his last game. I think I'll pass on that one at 6K, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. The guys I'm siding with in the first game are going to be the Mitchell, Huerter, Sabonis, Barnes, maybe, but probably just play 2 of them and have Bam on the other side as my favorite way to go.
Right.
I have some Luka on FanDuel. I've got about 25% Luka on FanDuel, 25% Giannis on FanDuel. I think they're fine over there. Just want to remind everybody though, when Luka's putting up 75 and 80s on DraftKings, those are usually like 65s on FanDuel and 60s. He turns the ball over. He doesn't get steals and blocks, all that stuff. Levine is in. Okay. Well, there goes that again. It looks like Kobe White's out. Drummond out again. Thanks for that, Koss. God, I don't understand. The Bulls have done this like 3 or 4 times so far this season, including opening night. They announced their starting lineup a day in advance. Then they announced Levine is out right before lock. And now they announced he's not playing tomorrow on the back-to-back. And then now he's playing. I don't really get it. I'm surprised he's playing for what it's worth. Let's see. We got a few other starting lineups. Nothing looks out of the ordinary. Okay, so that's going to kill I still think Vooch is a good play, by the way. I just going to have less of it than I'll have less of it now than I was going to. But yeah, it's easy swap over. I think Bam is probably the better play between he and Vooch now. And I wouldn't cross off Valanciunas either. He could have 50 plus in this matchup against the Lakers. But they don't really have any way to stop him.
So we're still waiting on Toronto.
Yeah. And we're not going to know that until 8.
When's the game? At 8.
Who's the sharp dude? God, Eric, I thought you knew a little bit about basketball. This guy was the number 1. He was ahead of all these other guys who ended up in the top whatever. He's the 7th overall pick this year. He had some off the court troubles. Sharp's a baller. Like that guy's got a chance to be like really special if he can keep his head on straight. Sharp is a top guy. I'm not using him on DraftKings, but I think on FanDuel at 4,200. Yeah, it's hard to ignore the price there. Should play 30 minutes tonight. Good matchup.
The other thing I would also like to add about the narrative, whatever it is, about the Atlanta New York game is that for those of you that don't remember
the playoffs,
the Trae Young in New York thing,
Yeah.
is like legit. I mean, like the Garden just loves to curse him, and Trey just loves to freaking just break their freaking souls. So just keep that in mind. If you want to play Randall, for example, might not be the worst idea in the world to play Trey on the other side of that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do it. But I will play DeJounte Murray on FanDuel.
I mean, it's also 232 total with a close spread. So it's
yeah.
And like you said, when's the last time the Knicks had the highest total on the slate?
I still am confused why this total keeps rising. I don't know what I'm missing exactly. Just sort of a weird, sort of shocked me a little bit. So that's what I mean. My main build right now has got Simons, Davis, and Zion in the later games, and then I'm playing from the first game Mitchell, Herter, and Bam, and then I have the Spurs value sort of mixed around Langford and Bates Diop right now, but sort of hoping for something else to open up or somebody to be announced starting that we maybe weren't expecting. But we got some time. You know, there's nothing going on for another hour and 10 minutes. So
you have any lead on the World Series tonight?
Billy, love it. Love to see it. I hope they do it. I mean, it's hard. I just want Philly to win. I despise this Astro team, and I love what Castellanos did when he did this, pulled the shirt up thing to show the.
Oh, I didn't see that.
He did that when they won the first game in Houston.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that, Brett. Yeah, I made a video, loaded it, left the house.
Oh, what happened?
Yeah. And it never loaded, and it's happened to me twice now. So I've got to keep a better eye out for that. So I'm sorry about that, guys.
Well, we're all very derelict in our duties. I was really swamped. I wasn't able to get my my golf video up. I just never had a chance to record it. But my projections are up. You know, you guys can feel free to look at who I like as far as my projections go, and you know, whatever. But I never had a chance to do the actual video.
Are we sure Langford's starting? Does that fit? Oh yeah, he's starting. Wait, yeah. So
you like putting him out into the atmosphere, don't you?
He's 3,200. He's going to look like one of the best projection plays on the slate.
Okay. What team is he on now? Not the Celtics anymore, right?
Spurs. Yeah.
Meanwhile, what do you think about? I heard that the Knicks are going to pick up the dude from the Celtics.
The Knicks are?
The coach.
You mean the Nets are?
I mean the Nets. Sorry.
Yeah. It's hard for me to comment on that because from everybody who seems to have an in the NBA, the story might be a lot worse than everybody's been led to believe. Whatever was happening.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I mean, if he's good enough, I mean, if the news is bad enough that the Celtics have to fire him, why should it be good enough for someone else to be able to hire him? I don't know.
Yeah, and partly they say over and over again how it's because it's the Boston team rules.
I guess.
But yeah, it's so I'm just we don't have there's not a he said he was going to take a year off, and now I don't know. But the Nets are a mess, and I feel bad for Steve Nash. I don't think any of that's really his fault. KD and Kyrie, I mean, Kyrie can go F himself. KD is just, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why he's riding with this guy and he's wasting 4 years of his career. And he's just like, I just like hate. They're easily the villains of the NBA, and I despise them. I just despise everything about them. And yeah, I don't think they're all gonna suddenly be good now with no matter who it is. I do think Udoka is the kind of guy who could get to them, especially being a former like the former player thing seems to carry weight, especially with Durant. But obviously Steve Nash is a former player too. But Udoka is a pretty forceful guy who will impose his will, and that team just has no. They have
there's no imposing will on guys like that. It doesn't matter who it is.
You don't think that there's
bring back freaking John Wooden. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean maybe you're right, but like I don't know. I mean the weirdest part about like Kevin Durant has basically not gotten along with any of his coaches since Scotty Brooks, who he loved when he was in OKC. Scotty Brooks is one of the worst coaches that's been around. It's like, I don't understand why. I don't know. It's just strange to me. I don't think you should feel great about the Reggie Jackson thing. We've seen this over and over again. He's a projection. He always looks like a great play, and he absolutely never gets there. I definitely will have some of it. He really doesn't. Like, I mean,
aside from that, he's elite.
I mean, he's 4,700 on FanDuel, which against Houston should be enough. But and he did shoot 2 of 11 the other day. But the guy he's put up he had a 129 fantasy point game this season. I understand without John Wall there getting the other minutes, and that game I think John Wall was out as well. So yeah, he's definitely in the mix. But I prefer Davion Mitchell. And I'm just looking at who else I had over there at guard on FanDuel. Because he's going to stand out as the best projected play. And I just don't know that. I guess Sharpie and Mitchell are.
What happened to that dude from OKC yesterday?
Which one?
That 70% owned guy who did nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, we knew that there was well, that's what OKC does. We shouldn't even. I said it on when we were talking. I was like, we can't even question it. Like, you know what I mean? Regardless, once he was announced starting, then it made him. And then of course it was Jeremiah Robinson Earl who got there. You know what I mean?
Meanwhile, I played what's his name off the bench. He did great, the Poku.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's take your guess. What's going to happen with OKC on a given night? They announced before the season that they were going to change their starting lineups almost every game. And
so you're not allowed to complain. I mean, honestly,
they're often going to change their starting lineups in the second half, too.
Right.
So it's like we just know it's the same. And by the way, the Spurs are not all that different, except for the Spurs are actually winning a lot of games this year.
Okay, I'll tell you who I'm getting now. By the way, with new projection Miami, I'm getting as a really really good point per dollar play Duncan Robinson.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like playing him.
Yeah, I do too, because you know exactly what you're getting. He's either going to make 6 threes and
you're going to get it all in the first quarter.
Yeah, that's probably true too. He did earn himself some extra minutes last night. So, wow, it's interesting. I don't see him from a projection. I see it now. Yeah, it looks like he's going to have some good ownership as well. So you get the Duncan Robinson. I think Duncan Robinson versus I think Duncan Robinson in a vacuum is. I don't know what to say actually about this one. I feel very stuck on whether I would say Robinson or Langford.
How did that dude do for the Nets yesterday? The Watanabe.
He had like 20.
Okay.
But he hit some threes late, you know.
Oh, okay.
You know, wasn't anything. Robinson's so scoring independent. So is everybody else in that range. Yeah. But it doesn't really matter because you're betting on him against a team that doesn't guard the three well to hit threes. So he's definitely I feel like it's more of a flyer, but if he's going to have ownership, I think that's probably a thing you could get away from. Now, if he's starting, play him. Okay. That, I feel much better about him getting 30 minutes if somehow they start him, but they're going to play a lot of Struss. He's been really consistent.
Struss is just as shooting dependent as freaking.
He's like the most shooting dependent.
Yeah. I mean,
but he's 5K too. So he's not a guy who's going to pop. And for what it's worth, he's a really good shooter. Both these guys are.
And what do you think about the idea that the Fred VanVleet sitting out for the back spasm was fraudulent just because he went over 12 in the previous game?
I don't buy into that kind of stuff, especially for teams that want to win like Toronto. They'll play their guys 40 minutes all the time. Like, I don't know. Not for Toronto. I don't buy it.
Okay.
He does look bad though. Like he doesn't look like just in real life. The eye test is not. He's not looking great.
Yeah, I don't think I want to play him if he plays.
No, and I think Scotty Barnes is being a little over projected today, as always. I like Scotty Barnes a lot. I'm a huge Scotty Barnes guy, but it's every day it feels like it was like what was happening with Mobley before, where every day they look like the best value, like the best spend up or mid-tier value every slate. And it's not like it has to be him. Like if VanVleet is for any reason out again, I would, just go play some Moji, play some Siakam. I think you kind of want to play one of those guys. And while I think Barnes is the most obvious and should be played, I don't think he should be looked at as so much ahead of the other guys. He hit a couple of his early threes. He ended up making 5 threes, which I think is a career high for him the other night. He did have 7 rebounds and 8 assists, and he got there at 45 fantasy points, 21% usage rate, but not the crazy usage that you expect to see him going up. I mean, he's had higher usage rates with Fred VanVleet on the court. So I don't know. I'm a little more indifferent. What I would say is that I would take I keep wanting to take the weird Boucher shots, and it just keeps not quite getting there. But I think that maybe that's a reach today. Maybe I can cross that off my possibilities.
I would like to announce to the to the Bobby Fi Corporation that I currently, in my big buy-in, have the once and future aforementioned Romeo Langford.
Hey, there he is.
Yeah, I'd like to announce that right now. And in pure Sheets fashion, I have him in a total of 5% of my lineups, but in the big one.
Yeah.
You would think that a play like that should be the opposite.
Yeah. To answer the question about FanDuel, we ask this every day, Dunbar, but just go to the site and I post all my core plays. So that's the best way to find out all my FanDuel plays. I touched on some other things that I already stood out for FanDuel. Getting a Zubac or Brooke Lopez question, the answer is neither. I do think Zubac is good, and I think that I'm not surprised by him playing well, but I'm not playing either of those guys tonight. So I don't care if I'm wrong. It's just nothing. What do we got now for pricing on him? Zubac is 65 is actually reasonable for him. Yeah, I don't think I'm that into Zubac. It's pretty interesting. Paul George is going to be pretty unowned on DraftKings after putting up 73 against these guys the other day. Oh, we do have John Wall back in tonight. That's weird. I had him out on my list, and now he's back. Yeah, Reggie Jackson is definitely a fishy play, but I'm going to have one lineup with him in it because it is Houston.
DFS and BA projections have been updated. They should be available.
Cade, the Cade question. I think Cade is like it feels silly almost not to play him with what he's been doing. The answer is I'm just not really getting there much tonight, and I don't expect Milwaukee to take them too lightly back-to-back games. So I think this is a game where Milwaukee handles them a little better. But it is hard to deny that Cade is definitely totally a fine play. I'm preferring the other guys who are missing their sidekicks, like Simons, who's missing Damian Lillard. There's a lot of usage to go around there. Had a 27% usage rate in the last game, and I have one of Simons or Nurkic in a good portion of my lineups. I didn't mention Nurkic, but I do really like Nurkic as well. I think Nurkic.
You like AD if he plays?
Yeah, he's like one of my favorite plays on DraftKings.
Okay. Well,
and then he goes to the second quarter. He goes in with a knee thing. Every time though every time he gets hurt and comes back out, he has his biggest games. It's the weirdest thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Josh Hart question on FanDuel. I didn't get to him. I think he's fine. It's a good game environment. Just didn't ever get to him. DeRozan 7,900, and that's my small forward, my favorite small forward play. I'm playing one of the Spurs guys like Bates Diop or so. Wait, let me just double check. I didn't look at the Spurs starting lineup. Yeah, they're starting Bates Diop also. It just worries me that they have like Josh Richardson to the bench. He's going to play minutes. McDermott will play minutes. Zach Collins will play minutes. Early in the day, last night when I first was looking at the slate, Gorgie Jang was projected to be the like an 8X or something like that, and he's sort of gone away. But I mean, they are missing like the Spurs are missing so much. It's really hard for some of these guys not to get there. You're missing your two highest usage players, and you already had a really weak team anyway. So I think I'm going to play some Langford. All right, let's see what else we got. You know who I'm not getting to as much, and they always project great, and usually one kind of gets there, but not every night, and that's Charlotte. I just didn't really get to it much. Oh, Fred VanVleet is out. Oh, Sohan is limited. Is that official? Because I heard that said earlier, but I didn't hear the official word on it. So I'm going to double check what that is. Why would he be limited because of an illness that he's getting over? That would be really strange for him to be limited. So Fred VanVleet out. Now I like Scotty Barnes again. And I think you want to play one of those Toronto guys. And I think Siakam is a really good play. He's expensive, but I think he's a really good play. And I think that OG is a really good play. He really flashed some of that ceiling the other night. He had 6 steals and 2 blocks, so you can't count on that all the time. But it is the Spurs, so it's a good matchup for it. He's 5,800. Put up 40 in his last 2 games. I think without VanVleet, there's room for these other guys to eat a little bit. So I would take a shot there with one of them on the run back, and maybe you play a couple Spurs with them, or you play a Podol with Langford, and then you run it back with one of the guys from Toronto. I think that makes a lot of sense with VanVleet out. Dylan Windler. Sheets your boy. Is that your boy, apparently? Dylan Windler? That's what they're saying in the chat. I don't think Dylan Windler is in play at all. I don't know where that mention is coming from. I'm not even sure that he plays a minute. All right. Brett, let me know what you're talking about the Sohan Limited. Where are you getting this from? Because I'm not seeing that like at all from any site, any source. I heard somebody offhandedly mention it on another show. I have no idea why. People get nervous about guys coming back from injury and just say stuff like that, but it's not injury. It was an illness. When it's an illness, it doesn't really mean anything. There's nothing to worry about. You just treat it like he took the day off for, paternity or something. Let's see what else we got here. I'm not seeing anything. Let's see. Yeah, elaborate a little bit for me on that, because we can't just say Sohan's limited, and none of the projection sites have him limited. So I'm not seeing anything official about that at all. Today could be a 400+ day on FanDuel. I don't. It'd probably be right up there. I mean, for the lottery, yeah, I don't even count that anyway. But yeah, maybe in the lottery. Any Laker outside of AD? Lonnie Walk? No. Russ. I actually think that everybody else is pretty. Sure, Lonnie Walker could get there, but we're gonna count on him taking a bunch of shots, and he is playing the minutes. I think he's fine. It's a kind of a pivot off of Herter. Allows you to do some things late, but I prefer Russ, Davis, and then James on FanDuel. Troy Brown is also 3,900, but I'm not going to play him either. No, I would not X Ragex out. I don't want to. You know me, Eric. I don't like these bold lock and X button things. I'm not that person. What happened to Sheets, by the way? Where does Sheets go? My favorite Heat player right now is Bam. Santi Aldama is fine. Aldama is completely fine. I'm going to go to the Trae Young game log and see if there's actually any. I know he gets going with the fans and all that stuff, but I don't know if it's actually been. Let's see his game log at NYC, because we got a little bit of time here. I didn't hear him say that. I was too busy doing something else. All right. Let's try it from this. Let's see the history. The history of Trae Young at Madison Square Garden. We're going to see. He had the monster game last year in April. Just a huge, huge night. He does seem to take a lot of shots when he's playing them. And then we'll go to the playoffs from the year before. Yeah, he's had some really good games there. I think it's totally fine. I'm not playing them much tonight myself, but he also had some really lousy games there too. But whatever. He's always interesting. Yeah, I don't feel great about. I'm not feeling as great about Herder as I did earlier. I'm okay with Herder and I'm okay with Trent. I don't feel great. I don't think like either of them are like standing out as guys you need to play. I think you can. I prefer Herder a little bit, for what it's worth, but I don't think it's a huge gap. Gary Trent has, doesn't really, he's not really like a guy who's going to go do a lot of crazy things for you anyway. They just got so many other bodies who are good and who are going to get usage. Like Siakam is an awesome play, and Anunoby doesn't need any usage to get there. But so he doesn't necessarily benefit, but it's a good matchup for him anyway. 5,800. He gets a little extra usage with no Van Vliet, and Scotty Barnes being the main one. All right. Good luck to everybody. I think that I'm going to bounce out of here. I will be in Discord if there's any questions or anything pops up. But I'm going to try and sort out the rest of this stuff and get my lineups built. But my priorities are still pretty similar to what they were. I just think that getting one of the Heat 3 makes more sense to me than it did. And maybe the value, but I'm waiting for the starting lineup to decide what I'm going to do with that. If somehow Duncan Robinson does start, I will play Duncan Robinson. All right, and good luck to everybody. Hopefully we see some screenshots in the Discord tonight. Let's make some money, and